to another episode of Mothers, War, and Violence. I'm Yolanda Wallace, and I will be your host, and I'm the founder of the Mothers, War, and Violence. And there are strongholds that are in our families, and so let's dive right into our next guest. And today, we're going to talk about nutrition. You are what you eat is something by an unknown author. And today I will let her introduce herself and what organization she's from. Thank you.
Thanks, Yolanda. Yeah, so my name's Rebecca Crumrine, and I'm here with Yolanda today to just talk about nutrition, as she mentioned, and how that affects people and how hunger is so much more than just that physical need that we have. So I actually work for University of Illinois Extension as our SNAP education educator for our unit. Okay. A lot of words there, I know. Yolanda's somewhat familiar with this because I know she used to work for Extension.
FNF.
Yeah. So basically, you may have heard of SNAP before, right? So that's a Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program.
Okay.
But not as many people maybe have heard of SNAP Ed. So
okay. I haven't either.
You hadn't either, okay. So it's a federally funded, through the Farm Bill actually.
Okay, good.
Initiative that wants to pair education with our SNAP eligible families.
Awesome. Okay,
so that is the whole purpose of our grant.
That is awesome.
Yeah. So here in Illinois, SNAP Ed is located across the whole state and run through University of Illinois Extension. So our whole goal is trying to make a healthier choice and easier choice for all of our SNAP eligible populations.
Well, that is awesome, especially while we're in a world where things are changing as far as food and prices. And so, and I'm sure you probably focus on, how much food costs, the better way to shop, right?
Yeah. Oh, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So our whole motto as SNAP Ed for our state, at least, is eat, move, save. Okay. Because we know, to be healthy, it takes a lot more than just having the eating, right? There's other pieces to that. And as you mentioned, it's not cheap to eat well. So how can we help our families, also make those food budgetary decisions? Yeah, we have help with that as well. Especially,
like you said in the beginning, with hunger on the rise and stuff like that. Hunger is not the only thing that we need as well. But hunger is a big issue right now, right?
Yeah. So hunger, I feel like as COVID happened, it kind of shed a light on something that's been there for a long time.
Oh.
And that's food insecure families. But people were talking about, how do people get out and get food? We're isolating them. How do people receive the food they need, right?
Right.
And that became a big topic. But now, as we're moving kind of out of this time, it's still there, and we're losing a lot of the benefits that went into effect to help families, afford some foods during that time. So I think we're just going to see it rise even more. Yeah.
Okay. So like eggs being $10 now.
Yeah, that's a good example. Yes, eggs are a very good example of that. So trying to help, we actually just talked about this some pantries the other day. I have a sheet on, substitutions. So you don't want to go out and buy the $10 eggs. Maybe you have things at home that can actually be substituted, right?
Well, like what? Beans, protein, or?
Depending on what you're using the eggs for. Eggs are kind of hard. Yeah. But we do have maybe it's just applesauce. You can use applesauce, you can use pumpkin. If it's just used for moisture in a recipe, you can use those items. So it just kind of depends on what it's being substituted for.
What you're making.
Yeah.
Okay, that is awesome. Now, I know when I was working for FNF, we would go different places in the school and actually prepare the meal and share recipes. So now that's changed, right? What's changed?
Yeah. So when Yolanda was with us, we had the food nutrition program was a little different at the time from the federal government. Still funded federally, what you were doing then. But basically what's changed over time is kind of how they're running that program. But the idea hasn't changed. That core
Okay.
belief and idea hasn't changed. So we still, I have staff, just in our area, at least if I'm talking Peoria, I have 6 staff here in Peoria that just go out to schools, community centers, pantries, any place where our families might, and this is what we say, eat, live, shop, learn, play, where our family's actually going to be. We want to be convenient and we want to make sense.
Right. Okay.
So wherever we go, then we can provide different education, kind of like you're talking about, Yolanda. We can do adult education, youth education, whatever audience we have there, we'll try to tailor to fit, what curriculums we have, right?
Right. So do you help in the schools when they have before school, the lunches and stuff like that, or?
Yeah, that's a good question. So our staff do go into classrooms and teach a variety of different curriculums here. And then myself.
In the public school, right?
Yeah, in the public schools, yeah. And then myself, I don't actually go into schools, but as the educator, as at least teaching curriculums, but I do help on the backside. So we have that direct ed that you're talking about, where people go out and teach. And then there's me, and usually I'll have a program coordinator. We're looking to fill that soon.
So what's your position and role?
Yeah. So that's what I was trying to get out here, I guess. But yeah, so what I do is actually helping more with, like, it could be the lunchroom. It could be a food bank or a pantry. So I help at that organization level more.
Okay.
Basically, the idea of public health is we can teach people, right, what's a healthy food. We can teach them how to cook that healthy food.
Right.
But if they don't have access to that healthy food, if they don't have a surrounding that supports them actually getting that healthy food, then they can't ever enact it.
Right, like the GMO type thing that's going on, that, trying to decide what's good versus the dollar menu or the $2 menu at McDonald's or Burger King or wherever,
There's a lot of confusing choices for families, for sure. Yeah.
And that kind of food is processed, which depending on how much money a family would have or could afford, they would venture off more to something like that.
Yeah, exactly. So how can, in my role, I'm tasked with, how can I kind of change those systems, the environment, the policies that surround our families,
right,
to make the healthier choice easier too? Because we give them education, we want them to be able to utilize it. So that's kind of where I fit in.
Okay, cool. It's just, and another thing I've noticed has changed as we're talking is the pyramid. It's kind of turned upside down. Like
the food pyramid?
Yeah, the food pyramid.
It's,
you want to talk about that?
Yeah, sure thing. So if you're familiar with, our dietary guidelines, they change so often, I feel like, right? And we hear a lot about new fads, new diets, new this. But as SNAP-Ed and being, USDA funded, we follow the most recent guidelines, which is the My Plate.
Okay.
So when it comes to My Plate, it's a really simple guideline to see. And you just think of a plate, and you want to have half that plate fruits and vegetables. And then they encourage you to have like a quarter of that grains, a quarter of that protein, and then they have like a glass of milk as your dairy on the side. And then their main other thing is making half your grains whole grains as well.
And what are those?
Yeah, so whole grains, instead of having our enriched grains that we have. So when you think of a white bread, we've had white bread before, right?
Yes.
We take out there are different parts of the grain that we remove, right, to make white bread. And then maybe we enrich it with some other things. But in a whole grain,
bleach
we leave,
and
yes,
stuff like that.
Yes, okay. Yeah. But maybe with the whole grains instead, we decide, okay, we can leave the whole grain in, right? We don't have to take out these other parts, and that gives us more fiber. It gives us a better dietary, nutrition out of that bread rather than just, part of the grain that we're getting with the white bread. So that's kind of what those are.
Yeah, which also slows down our digestive system, right?
Yes, yeah. Fiber is so important for digestion. And we get a lot of it through our whole grains. We can get some through our fruits and vegetables, of course, too, have a great amount of fiber in them as well. So the more that we can do that, you can find whole grain pasta. Yeah. You can find whole grain in a lot of different areas now. So you don't have to just do it with bread, but yeah.
So you're saying that whole grain flour is probably better than the enriched or the unbleached, or
yeah. And some people get a little weird about the taste of whole grain.
Right.
I don't know if you ran into this, Yolanda.
Yes.
I heard someone just the other day in a pantry say that her guests are prejudiced against brown pasta, whole grain pasta. So I think the thing that maybe we don't do often is just try it, because after a certain age, we know what we like. Mm-hmm. Kids are the easiest audience to just, you know, to try things. Mm-hmm. But also, like when it comes to flour, if you're baking, it's really easy to just do maybe half whole wheat and half normal flour.
Okay.
And then you're getting, get yourself kind of accumulated to, this is what this will taste like. Without going, all out the first time. You can always try little steps too. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, cool. That is interesting. And then the effects of your nutrition in how it affects the body. Yeah. Besides the digestive tract, I mean, we know that this processed food can cause other health issues as well, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We always like to say, we have this one curriculum, Catch, and it teaches kids, we want to find food as close to its natural state as possible, right? Mm-hmm. Just because when we do process those foods and put in that extra, maybe it's just extra sodium, right?
Right.
Because we do that a lot, even with canned vegetables. You can get the canned in sodium or canned in no salt now, right? And that sodium we've used for a long time, maybe for that preserving agent that it has. But we don't need all that sodium in our diet, right? Or we don't need whatever it's being added usually. Right. So the closer we can find it to its natural state, the more likely it'll have the best nutrients for our bodies. Yeah.
So canning, I heard you mention canning. Is that better to do than the canned goods? Probably, I'm sure. And I know the Cooperative Extension Service, does it still teach how to can and stuff like that?
Yeah. So canning's a great way that families can extend the life, right, of the food that they purchase. Mm-hmm. Or maybe they're getting it from a pantry too. If you get a ton of, green beans, right? Yeah. And you're not going to eat all those all at once. Right. How can you utilize those in the future? You could freeze. Mm-hmm. You could can. Mm-hmm. So having those little tricks up your sleeve can help you stretch that budget like we were talking earlier, so you can have those foods later on. As far as canning yourself or buying the cans, I think it matters a lot on people's time, right? People's ability, Yeah. But we do, and it's so hard nowadays. But I will say you are right. Extension does have an educator. She's more based out of the McLean area, but she's done some classes for us locally on, those steps, even little steps like freezing, and simple ways to extend the life of your produce, in those ways too. So
right. Yeah. So and how as we're talking about gardening, that ideally would be the perfect way to have the best nutrients in our food by getting seeds from Kelly Seeds, or because I don't know, sometimes when they talk about getting seeds to have a garden and stuff like that, are they can I go to Lowe's, or is it best to go somewhere,
Right. Yeah. You honestly, what's really cool too about and people may not know this, and we try to talk about it, SNAP benefits can be used to purchase seeds, to purchase soil. Yeah.
Awesome.
Now, it's not an immediate food, right? So that can sometimes cause, you have to maybe plan for that in a family's budget. Mm-hmm. But they can be used to go purchase those items. And I would say that wherever you can find those seeds at a value for your family, it would be fantastic.
Okay, cool.
Whether that is your local Lowe's or Home Depot or whatever sort of store you have like that. Yeah. Or if you can get to Kelly Seeds, fantastic too. Okay. But yeah, any way that you can do that, and if you have that ability, that's fantastic.
And you guys also have gardeners as well, right?
Yeah.
And do they help and teach people how to build a garden? Because I know they have community gardens around as well, right?
Yeah. Yes. So with Extension, there's a lot of different services we can offer, and one that we have is our horticulture side, and we have master gardeners. And they help a lot with that education piece with gardens.
Okay.
So they might be able to do some like volunteering too in the community, but their main one of their main goals is really educating the community so they can do that gardening themselves.
Okay.
So yes, we do have options where people can learn better how to garden and grow for themselves, because that can be a whole nother feat.
Sure.
It can. You could always start container gardening too. It doesn't have to be like you have a large plot of land, or I think that can be really daunting to people too.
Yeah. It's a lot of work, like you said, depending on how much time you have, and if you're a student going to school or working 2 or 3 jobs, it can be a chore to try to keep and maintain a garden.
Yeah, for sure. So even just a couple containers to start, you can easily grow some tomatoes, or something small to start, and just kind of expand as you can.
Right. So. And your gardeners, they don't only just teach about how to make a food garden with fruits and vegetables and stuff, but they also, the horticulturals, they do flowers too, right?
Yes. So flower gardening as well is a huge part of the Master Gardeners, and what they focus on. So I know locally they help upkeep gardens at many various locations. We have some gardens out at Wildlife Prairie Park, if you've been out there.
Okay.
That butterfly garden they help with.
Awesome. Okay.
And then they have a 4-H like teaching garden that they utilize out there too for kids to kind of teach that gardening side. So there a variety of places and spaces you'll see them in for sure. Yeah, flower and vegetable. And
I'm excited personally in the partnership between the Master Gardeners and the 4-H, and how they're going to partner with the John Buckley Memorial Garden. And I'm interested to find out what that's going to look like.
I'm really excited for that too. I think that you're going to find there's going to be a lot of interest in that, Yolanda. So I think it'll be a great relationship.
That is great. I'm really interested to pull kids into that memorial garden so that they can reflect on ways how not to end up in those subtitles of, the different tragedies that happen to people.
Right.
And I also had talked to Emily at the Peoria Park District, and she's excited about the new relationship, and just to see what we're going to do, and how, because having kids there is just awesome, and for them to make an addition to the memorial garden is even more better if that's what they want to do. So, I guess we'll find out, right?
Yeah. Yes. That's an exciting thing.
Yeah. So where are you located?
Yeah. So SNAP-Ed as a whole is located, like I said, across the state. But myself locally, here in Peoria, we do have an office on North Sheridan Road. But, a lot of times with SNAP-Ed, you don't come to us. We can come to you. So
awesome. Okay,
you can always
great.
give us a call, and, we can always come to you to meet you, see your space. And then we have offices in every county, as well. So I'm in Tazewell, Fulton, and Mason counties as well. So
okay, great. Yeah. Awesome. Okay, and then before we conclude, can you give me a little history about how the U of I Extension got started?
Yeah. So Extension is a land grant university. So Yolanda, you may have heard some of this lingo before when you were there. Yeah. So as a land grant university, we are given the charge to provide community education as well. So through the University of Illinois, being a land grant university, we give community education. And how do they do that? Well, we can't do that from campus.
Oh,
You know,
okay.
our communities are all across the state.
Right. They're everywhere.
They're everywhere, right? So, you know, while campus is our main hub for the University of Illinois, extension offices are now, you know, located across our state so we can help serve families.
Okay.
So the idea of extension is really being there in the community to provide the education, to be giving, you know, that research-based education that U of I is privy to and has that access to, being able to give that to our communities.
Awesome. And is there a certain age that you're looking for? Because I know you have ages for, you know, prenatal on up to senior citizen, right?
Yeah. So with SNAP-Ed at least, we serve mostly like that pre-K age through seniors. There isn't a gap in there for us, so we can serve any of those ages.
Okay.
And we have different curriculums to do so.
Okay.
And I mean, if we have a family curriculum and someone brings someone younger than pre-K, of course they'll be accepted.
Right.
It's just that we don't have any curriculums for that young age.
Okay.
But, yeah.
And in the summertime, you still have chef school?
Oh, yes. Yeah. Super exciting.
Okay,
we
great.
still do our junior chef school, and we usually do that for about 7 or 8 weeks, depending. Now that we have a shortened summer, we're trying to fit in as much as we can. But 7 or 8 full weeks of chef school, and it's a great opportunity for kids. We bring them 5 days in a row to learn concepts like measuring, mixing, you know, what's folding,
Right. Okay.
chopping, mincing.
Yeah.
So they
Healthy
work
meals, right?
exactly.
Okay,
Yeah. So we
good.
teach good nutrition. We teach cooking. They get to make recipes and try them. So it's a very hands-on class that everyone really enjoys.
Well, thank you, Rebecca, for joining our show today. And you can also find the University of Illinois Cooperative Extension on Facebook. Is that right?
Yeah. Yes,
As you can find Mother's War on Violence on the Mother's War Against Violence Facebook page. And I'd like to thank my listening audience for listening to us today. And again, we thank you for listening to Mother's War on Violence podcast. And we hope that you tune in to our next episode. Thank you.